Unsurprisingly, at least to me, the WBC have ruled in favor of Tyson Fury with regards to the purse split for the Dillian Whyte fight. So it says here on Boxing Scene that Carl Moretti, the vice president of operations for Top Rank, vocally petitioned for an 80-20 split to be assigned to the fight in line with the drastic paydays earned by the two boxers over their past several fights. The request was in stark contrast to the traditional 55-45 split enjoyed between a reigning WBC full titleist and interim belt holder. WBC bylaws provide room to go as much as 70-30 in favor of the full champion at its discretion, with a formal request by any involved party to be reviewed by the sanctioning body's board of governors. So the thing to focus on there, at least for me, is the part where it says at the WBC's discretion, because as I mentioned in a previous video, so much of their rules seem to be at their discretion, which makes you wonder, are they really rules at all? Is it just a license for the WBC to make it up as they go along? You be the judge. Now, it's interesting here that it says the WBC bylaws allow them to go as low as 70-30 in the favor of the full champion. And in this case, they're talking about giving Dillian Whyte 20%, not even 30, but 20. 20% is in line with just being a mandatory challenger, not even being an interim champion, as Dillian Whyte is. So Dillian Whyte surely can't be happy about that, because not only are they going as low as 30, they're going to 20%. He must feel very slighted by the WBC at this stage. All the sanctioning fees he's paid that organization, all the fights he's had for the organization, all the belts he's won of that organization. And they're going to turn around and say, you know what, when you get your title shot, we're not even going to give you the 30%, which is the lowest figure we could give you as an interim champion. No, we're going to go lower than that and give you 20. He can't be happy about that. But I'm not surprised, because as I've been saying in multiple videos on this topic, Dillian Whyte was like a bull in a china shop with regards to his dealings with the WBC. And Mauricio Sulaiman was never going to take that lying down. Not that Dillian Whyte did anything wrong. And Mauricio Sulaiman, for me, is an absolute scumbag. But Dillian Whyte didn't employ enough diplomacy, and he ended up rubbing Mauricio Sulaiman up the wrong way. And at the end of the day, he is the president of the WBC. And if you're going to try and fight for the WBC title, then he has some power over you in that situation. And he has an ego. And so he's not going to do you any favors if you're trying to put all this pressure on him, call him out publicly. You've got all these Twitter followers, you know, Dillian Whyte's Twitter followers, not that he necessarily told them to, but they were cussing out Mauricio Sulaiman over the past few years online, saying it's disgraceful that Dillian Whyte has been the champion for this long and he hasn't got his shot, etc., etc. Mauricio Sulaiman remembers all that. He's not happy about all that. He's certainly not happy about being taken to court. So he's not going to do Dillian Whyte any favors in this situation. And it's interesting, isn't it, that he's ruled that the purse split will be 80-20 in Tyson Fury's favor when the arbitration is still going on. Again, I'm an outsider looking in, but I have to imagine that the arbitration is about the purse split. It's about Dillian Whyte trying to get the 45% or at least 40%. Now, apparently Dillian Whyte in negotiations with Team Fury was talking about $10 million as a starting point. And some people are saying this is way too high for Dillian Whyte. Well, the purse that he lodged for the Alexander Povetkin rematch, how many of you truly believe that that's the full amount of money that he made from the fight? I don't know exactly what was going on there in terms of why he lodged that purse, but even Frank Warren didn't say that's what he made. He said that's what he lodged for the fight. So to me, that's indicating that even Frank Warren himself believes Dillian Whyte earned an awful lot more than 300 grand against Povetkin in the rematch. Now, obviously there was no crowd. So, well, no, there was a crowd, but there was a small crowd in Gibraltar. So it was a, relatively small crowd. I don't know what the tickets were going for, but it is what it is. Whatever the reason for Dillian Whyte lodging a purse of 300 grand, maybe he was trying to escape sanctioning fees or, what he was doing, I don't know. But whatever the reason was, he must be regretting it now. Because if he hadn't done that, then perhaps the WBC and Team Fury wouldn't have had a leg to stand on with regards to giving him the 20%. I know that the WBC make things up as they go along, but perhaps he would have been able to at least get the 30%. Whereas he's been treated like he's a standard mandatory challenger at the moment rather than a interim champion. Let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments below. Will this drag out for several more months in arbitration, or will Dillian Whyte bite the bullet and say, you know what, let's just take the 20%. I'm going to go for it. Now, as far as this $10 million figure, I think for Dillian Whyte's first world title fight, if it's, because he's obviously thinking that would be the equivalent of about 45%, or he's hoping that'd be the minimum that he would want to be in line with the percentage he believes he deserves. So $10 million, right? Now, 45% of this fight is probably going to be more than $10 million, but that's, I think, Dillian Whyte's starting point. How many pay-per-view buys does this do in the UK? I think it does pretty well because Dillian Whyte is known to the Sky audience. It also depends on what platform it's on. Is it going to be on BT? Is it going to be on Sky? Is it going to be on DAZN? Who knows? I have to imagine that with Tyson Fury involved, it's probably not going to be on DAZN, more likely Sky or BT, So that's a topic for another video. But I don't think the 10 million is particularly unreasonable from what Dillian Whyte is asking for, because he's earned millions for fights before, as far as we're aware, as far as what has been released to the public by way of purse information. He's earned millions for fights before. So in his first world title fight as an interim champion, 10 million is like, again, perfectly reasonable to me, given the fact that he's actually entitled to up to 45% as interim champion. And it appears, again, I'm an outsider looking in, as though Team Fury have found some type of, I don't want to call it a loophole, but they've found something with the assistance, it would seem, it would appear, of the WBC. They've found a way to bring the number, the figure that they were going to give Dillian Whyte, the percentage, down substantially, substantially below what he really should be getting. Let me know what you guys think. I'm not surprised. And is it going to be best for Dillian Whyte to actually bite the bullet? This is the question I want to ask you guys. Is it going to be best for him to bite the bullet and take the fight at 80-20? At the end of the day, there's no rematch clause. Dillian Whyte's not going to sign a rematch clause, apparently. So if he beats Tyson Fury, he sails off into the sunset. And realistically speaking, see, here's another issue with the way Dillian Whyte has dealt with the WBC. Again, from a moral standpoint, I've got no issue with what Dillian Whyte has done. But just from a tactical standpoint, I think he's shot himself in the foot here. You have to be a bit more diplomatic than Dillian Whyte has been when you reach this stage. Because when it comes to the officiating for this fight, the judges and the referee are also not going to do Dillian Whyte any favors, let's be real. As such, I see no way that Dillian Whyte wins this fight other than by knockout. Now, some people would say that's going to be the case anyway. If they had the fairest judges and the fairest referee in the world, there's still no chance of Dillian Whyte winning other than by knockout. And even his chance of winning by knockout is a slim one. Most people would say that. Perhaps they're right. But look, boxing is a funny old game, to use a cliche. If in a hypothetical scenario, Dillian Whyte was to, I don't know, drop Tyson Fury 3-4 times in a fight and make it impossible for the judges to go in the other direction, so long as they're fair judges, it is the heavyweight division, anything can happen. But are they going to be fair judges? Or are they going to be in favor, as I suspect, of Tyson Fury quite heavily? Not just because Tyson Fury is the bigger name here, but because politically, with regards to the WBC, I think they much prefer Tyson Fury than Dillian Whyte. Much prefer him. And it would seem as though they may have a better relationship with Bob Arum than they have with Eddie Hearn. These are things to consider. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Drop your comments in the comment section below.